What's up, dude? Spaz here. Welcome to my channel and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Beef. What you're watching in the background is a round of Heist in the Hardline beta, and I'm playing a little bit of defense using my AKM assault rifle. And I really dig this gun just because it has that raw feel to it. A little bit slower rate of fire, some decent recoil. I personally thought that there was a substantial learning curve in terms of recoil for the AKM. I thought it kicked like a sumbitch to start, but some of my friends disagree and said that it was relatively easy to learn, so to each their own. Now, what I want to talk about in this episode of Let's Talk Beef is whether or not Hardline really fits into the Battlefield franchise. I want to make it abundantly clear that we don't have all that much information about this game, and some of the things I'm about to talk about are subject to change. We are way away from release, so they could add stuff, change stuff, remove stuff, all that stuff, all those things, more general terms. They could do all that, and by the time we get to release, my concerns in this video might be resolved. But it is my opinion right now, having played this beta quite a bit and having rewatched some of the leaked footage and trying to find information about this game, I don't necessarily think that Hardline fits into the Battlefield franchise. I've said in another video that this was probably a game that should have been a standalone title, but some of you out there may have a different opinion, and I don't want you guys to take my opinion as a justification to write off this game. If any of you guys out there are veteran Battlefield players that are concerned about this game delivering that classical Battlefield experience, don't take my opinion and automatically write off this game, because I am enjoying this beta. I am enjoying the gameplay, these new modes. It's a lot of fun. It's probably a game that I will pick up on release, even though I do have some genuine concerns with it fitting in to the Battlefield franchise. So let's just go ahead and dig into this a little bit. And let's go ahead and start by talking about High Tension, which is the map we have access to right now in the beta. Now, we have to understand that this is one map out of several, so a lot of them could be completely different. Remember when we had access to Siege, we thought that all maps might be like that? No, there's a ton of different maps, and we're probably going to experience a similar thing upon release with Hardline. But if this map hints at what future maps are going to include, I'm a little concerned, because this High Tension map, though it can be fun with blood money and heist, it's a little small for my taste. It fits 32 players, but it is definitely not big enough to house 64 players unless Visceral does with these modes like DICE has done with Conquest and Conquest Large, in that Conquest is more typically reserved for 32 to 48 players. Smaller map, fewer points. Conquest Large, more typically used by 64 players. More points, bigger maps. They could very well do that with these maps. If you zoom out on these maps from the playable area, there is a little bit more room to work with. So perhaps for 64 players, they expand the playing area, add maybe some more objectives here and there, and it might fit. But from what I've seen so far, I'm a little concerned with 64 players fitting in to these maps or these game modes. The game modes right now aren't too bad with 32 players. Not necessarily funneled, not too many bottlenecks. They've done a good job of making areas a little bit easy to flank, or not necessarily easy, but they've added room. It doesn't bottleneck like Metro or Locker, so that is a good thing. It's not necessarily like Obliteration. Obliteration, it can be. Okay, let me rephrase that. It can become like Obliteration when you are down to one loot bag, but it's not as bad. I just am a little concerned that I don't see 64 players fitting into these game modes. It's going to turn them into a little bit more funneled game mode, a little bit more bottlenecks. And this map, as much fun as it is, guys, I mean, driving around, after a while, you feel like you're in NASCAR. There's quite a few turns going on, not too many stray shots. So I'm just a little concerned that they are trying to expand this game vertically in terms of map size and not continually expand them horizontally. And what happens when you expand maps just vertically is what we're starting to see in this beta. Increase of roof campers, increase of recon. Nobody going after the objective, just camping roofs. Now, that's not in every lobby, but I've seen it in some. Let's go ahead and talk about the classes in this game, because this is one of my biggest concerns. There needs to be some rebalancing of these classes, not because I think one is OP necessarily, but I just see that there really isn't a point to playing an engineer. I mean, you think about it, guys. What are the majority of vehicles being used right now in the beta? Well, they're transport vehicles. That might be a squad car, might be a muscle car, might be a sedan, a bike, etc. All those vehicles can be destroyed using an assault rifle. Full mag of an AKM is going to explode a car. Even some of the PDWs take down a car in one mag. What's the point of carrying an RPG? What's the point of carrying a repair tool for vehicles that can die or get lit up like they're paper? There really isn't any. The only vehicles worth destroying in this game are transport helos, perhaps the attack helo. It's not necessarily an attack helo, it's more of like a scout helo with the ability to shoot a few weapons. So what's the point of being an engineer? You only have a few vehicles to destroy, and in my opinion, the only vehicle that an engineer is going to be effective at destroying versus an enforcer is the helicopter. But the helicopters aren't even really any threat. The attack one can be blown up by shooting at it enough with your weapons. A little concerned here about the class balances, because right now we have a ton of medics and snipers in lobbies, very few engineers, because there really is an emphasis on the vehicle play in this game. Think about it, guys. What we've been told so far is that the top of the line is an armored vehicle. That's it. How advanced is the vehicle play going to be in this game if the top of the line is an armored vehicle? How good are the engineers going to be in this game if they're really only repairing one vehicle or using one vehicle or attacking one vehicle? They're not going to be that good. Everybody's going to be using medic or recon if things stick to the way they are now. They don't add a ton of vehicles or balance the vehicles to where it would be important to be an engineer. Now, last thing I want to talk about, guys, before I shut off this video is I just want to reiterate this player count thing. We've only had access to 32 players. Some of these maps might be able to house 64, but there needs to be a solid game mode, which sounds like it might be Turf War, which from my understanding is their replacement of Conquest. There absolutely has to be a solid 64 player game mode for this game to even fit into the Battlefield franchise. I don't care if you tell me that the 32 player versus, or excuse me, the 16 versus 16 player fits, or it's a good fit for this game. In my opinion, you cannot have a Battlefield game without a solid 64 player mode. That is what I am looking for the most in all this information that will be coming out, more information towards release. I just want somebody to show me that this is going to be able to have a good 64 player game mode. I want these maps to last a little bit. The biggest problem right now with these game modes in Hardline is they are far too short. Most rounds lasting maybe 10 minutes. I've had some end in about 3. That is not Battlefield. Battlefield is all about having really hard-fought battles, conquest battles. It could even be rush, different modes, but a hard-fought battle that takes a little bit of time, and whoever wins, well, they deserve that win. It was a hard-earned win, not these, oh, well, we kind of cheesed you and snuck by you with the loot bag here, or your team was half asleep or hadn't spawned yet, and we went ahead and seized the victory really quick here. Don't want these short game modes, and I want 64 players, but that's it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think if you have had access to this beta, and we will catch you guys in another episode of Let's Talk Beef. Yep.